Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with the eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
Greetings to everybody and welcome to Heaping Spoonful. I'm Kelly Bass, and it's my pleasure, after decades of writing about restaurants for Little Rock newspapers and magazines, to be the host of this podcast and to just talk about restaurants and the people who make them great. Our goal with Heaping Spoonful is to cast a spotlight on chefs and restaurateurs from across the Mid-South, and today we're chatting with Christy Ouei, owner of Mule Kick, a cool coffee shop and restaurant in Magnolia, Arkansas. So welcome, Christy.
Thanks, Kelly. Cool to be invited to participate.
Hey, glad you're here. Let's start with a bit of a level set for our listeners who aren't familiar with Magnolia, Arkansas. So we hope we have listeners. We know we have them across the state. We hope them have around the country and the world and maybe even the galaxy if that's doable. So not everybody knows about Magnolia, Arkansas, but it's a town of about 11,000 people. It's in southwest Arkansas, and it's home to Southern Arkansas University, which has about 4,700 students and sits on the north edge of the town. The university sports teams are called the Mule Riders, and I'm sure there's a story there. And thus, Christy, an SAU alumnus, has decided to call her establishment Mule Kick. Is that pretty much all right?
Yes.
The way you know it?
To be all factual, the way I know it, yes. So
Cool.
We certainly wanted to give homage to or ground our location in with Southern Arkansas University because we're right here. So obviously the first part of that name gives credence to the Mule Riders. And the mascot is actually the person on the back of the mule. It's not actually the mule itself. So the mascot is the Mule Rider.
Oh, Rider. Right. Oh, that makes sense.
Yes. But that name, Mule Kick, was initially going to be used for our nitro cold brew. And we thought it would be cool to have one of those on tap, and it would very much give you a kick. So it was a Mule Kick. And it wasn't until I started Googling that I didn't know that it was an exercise. I didn't know it had something to do with a video game. We just thought it was really appropriate. And we started thinking of
I didn't know it had... Yeah, I didn't know it had anything to do with an exercise or a video game either, so we were on the same page there. Well, I can tell you, that my job is made easy by the internet, and so you got a lot of coverage. You got a lot of coverage before you opened, since you've opened, and it seems like it was opened, I guess it was in 2019 that you opened, and it was with quite a bang. I mean, you promised, you said, this is going to be a place the likes of which Magnolia has never seen, and you were right. So talk about, and I learned again later, and we'll talk later about your vision, but in broad terms, just what did you have in mind when you decided to open Mule Kick?
Well, I had big plans, or actually I had small plans of being a coffee shop, and ended up opening a lot more. So I think we get to that a little later, but we are just, we wanted to answer the question that everybody in, I think every small town in Arkansas, or maybe the world, asks is, do you know what this town needs? You sit around the fire, and that's what everybody says. You know what this town needs? Well, my mission, my goal was to be the answer to that question. And so the more that we looked into the things that it needed, the more we wanted to add and to be. So we wanted to be a location next to university where the students could grow and they could use the skills that they had at university, but they could expand on those. We wanted to be a new business model. We wanted to include the new culture that we were very excited to promote. We wanted to have a horizontal business structure. So we were just trying to find an avenue to do more of those things. Our vision was very much our why. So every business has a what. They have a deliverable. They have a pizza or a hamburger or a whatever. And they can be successful or not successful, but not every business has a why. And if you have a why, it's pretty much the stars align for you. And it's not that it's an easy path. It's just that if you have a why and you can expand on that why. And our why was to bring the college and the community together to create a sense of networking without the real life networking word, to just be the spot that bonds the entire community.
Well, that is totally cool. And you're right. There's a whole lot of whats and there's not enough whys. And anybody who works for a place that has a why can tell you it's a much more fulfilling experience than if you have no why. So again, those of us from Arkansas know there's some smallish cities, and I think at 11,000, I think I saw that's the Magnolia is the 35th largest city in Arkansas. But, I think Arkadelphia and Monticello and Magnolia, cities that derive a lot of their identity and really their cool factor from being home to a university, because with university you get students and who are in a quest for knowledge and to better themselves and to hopefully to grow a career, and you've got faculty that have got PhDs and they're smart and they're fun and they're interesting, and you've got staff. So talk about your relationship with you. You made again, between the name and the fact that you're right next door, basically. Talk about the relationship and sort of how it's grown over your, about 2.5 years in business with the university and its people.
So we take a lot of pride in being identified with SAU. Dr. Berry, the president of Southern Arkansas University, and I share a common driveway, we can meet in the middle of the road. If he leaves his driveway and I leave Mule Kick driveway, we're looking at each other. So physically, we are very closely located, but we also take great pride in our local public school, which is the Magnolia Panthers. And then we have a Christian school here in town, the Columbia Christian Crusaders. We're also home to the World Champion State Cook-Off. So Magnolia has a lot of things, going on. But being here close to the college, I guess we're going to talk about really our target market, and talk about how we decided who was going to be our target market. And even though we're geographically located close to the college, that was really going to be more of our workforce, and that's how it's turned out. So our target market is more of those professors that are used to something more metropolitan than some of the small town typical coffee shops, or the place where they go to play checkers or things like that. We have professors from all over that are from Denver or New York, or where they have those trendy hangouts. Or Houston and Austin are two places that we get thrown up beside a lot of, oh, cool, I live in Austin and this would fit in really well in my neighborhood. So
that's so great, yeah.
Those were our initial people that bought into what we were doing, were those folks that were looking for something similar to what they had at home.
Sure, and I'm telling you, I can promise you that they're thanking their lucky stars that they have you, because again, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit, but it's not just a place to come in and grab a coffee and run. I mean, it's you've created a real atmosphere there, and we'll get into that. But I'll tell you that looking at the various components of Mule Kick, it leads me to one conclusion. It's like, what's not to like? As you said, this is about an experience and not just a place to pop in. And I mean, you can pop in and get a coffee to go and go on about your business, but you can also hang out. So you set a pretty high bar with what you set out to achieve, but let's talk and kind of work backward. Let's talk about the place before we talk about what you serve. So to help people understand the ambiance and sort of what you were looking for and kind of the vibe that you're going for at Mule Kick.
Well, I'm going to jump back to one other thing that you said, and you asked me a question that was, what led me to set that high bar for Mule Kick? And just a minute ago, when you asked that question, my knee-jerk reaction is, if you're going to set a bar, why set a low one? Set something up there. And in every sense of the word, Mule Kick is an extension of me. So every day, my reputation as a restaurateur, as a business owner, as a human being, is on the line. So I guard, your mama said you only get that shot at your reputation one time. And there were some things I didn't listen to mama over, but that was one of them I did. So we strive for the extra. One of our taglines is never business as usual. So expect that when you come in here. That's on a test actually for my servers, is that they have to know that motto. That was the thought that ran through my head right there. But then after that, you asked me another question. I don't even remember what the vibe. That's what you were asking me, wasn't it?
Right. It's kind of the atmosphere and what you're going for the experience of being there.
Well, 120,000%, that answer is because of Bert Adams. Bert is my boyfriend and partner in Mule Kick, and it was his creativity come to life that made Mule Kick what it is. He was in the oil field for 20 years, and it was a very humdrum, I guess, very exacting. Same things happen daily. So he wanted to bring a wow factor. And Bert doesn't really think outside of the box. He thinks like there's no box at all. Inside, outside, beside, under, whatever. It's just there's not a box. So 2 years prior to opening Mule Kick, he built custom lamps. And not lamps to see by necessarily, however, everything provides light, but lamps that could set the stage for your house, that could set the stage for the office, and that has certainly set the stage for Mule Kick. A cool lamp makes you smile. A well-designed one makes you wonder how it got its design. Bert's lamps do both. So you're smiling and you're sitting there and you're just wondering what it is. We just started with that, really, with the creation of what he had done and kind of the industrial design of the things that he had. And then we started with, in a perfect world, if in a perfect world we could do anything we wanted to, what would we want Mule Kick to look like? And so we started with that, and then we just didn't deviate. Did we change our minds?
Yeah.
Yep. We changed our minds, but we didn't settle. I didn't settle for this. If we had to change our mind, we kept looking until we came up with something else that was just like, yeah, that's what we want. So my office door looks like the door to a vault. I have a stoplight. We have antique library ladders. We have stools that have bicycle pedals on them. I have a koi pond in the outdoor patio, and my outdoor patio looks like the outdoor patio at your house. It's the place where you and friends kick back around a fire, and there's a fire pit out here, and talk and hang out. And it was so cool the first night that we had people actually do that, and you're like, oh, they get it. They get it. This is what it's supposed to be. So all the factors, everything I was talking about, and everything that Bert brought to it, and our travels were a lot into that. We traveled with selling his lights, and we found a late 1800s apothecary that takes front and center stage when you walk in the door. So it's not all new things. We didn't go to Lowe's and buy everything that you see here, or all new stools, or all new anything, really. But that gives you instant character. If you go in a place that you just ordered everything from some restaurant online supply place, it's just kind of dull.
And generic. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. So I think all of that was went into us winning the best outdoor dining in Arkansas competition that was put on, by the Arkansas Times, which, as I'm sure you know, is the annual Best of, sponsored by none other than Benny Keith.
Yeah. I used to work at Arkansas Times, and I write articles for Arkansas Times from time to time still, even though I've been out of the business for a long time. Okay. Well, that's really cool, and it sounds like you, Bert, and you're very complimentary of one another. You what he knows how to do and what you know how to do work well together. So that's cool. And I read some interesting stories about, so some of the boards on the walls were boards from the floor of your parents' house, which is, I hope they're not walking around with no floors anymore, or maybe they're in a different place, No. But that's cool. And
so that kind of goes to the whole philosophy or one of the philosophies. It seems like I have as many of those as I have pens on my desk. But it was, we didn't have a shoestring budget necessarily when we started Mule Kick, but we had a budget. And to me, budget equals goal. And I'm all about some goals. So that was just like, it was a game to see how much under budget I could come in. And if I could cross something else with this line, I'm like, nope, I've finished that and I don't have to buy any of that. And so using stuff, Mom and Dad had a decade where they had a decade-long house building project. And so there was a lot of surplus from that. But Mom had bought 2 mirrors. Well, they matched. One went in the men's room, one went in the women's room. Mom didn't need them, Right. She bought a sink, and then she found one she liked better. Well, that one's now my prep sink.
That's great. I love coming in under budget too. And the great thing is, if you did need to get over budget in a little one area, you've got some money left over. But that's super cool. So you have a strong commitment to being green, and I'm going to bring up one of those points when we get to the vision you had or the goals you had for Mule Kick. But besides reusing materials to create your building's interior, some of it, your team focuses a lot on recycling and being good stewards of your materials. That's correct.
Right. Yes. Well, there's a quote floating out there on the internet somewhere that says, it's only one straw that 8 billion people. And
yeah, exactly.
And I think that's true. We as humans only see what we do. And for some reason, even though we think everybody else in the world's like us, we don't think that they are producing waste and byproducts just like we are. And we don't take that multiple of that to see how far it reaches. So my napkins are made from fabric that my mom had, and she let me dig through for the most part. I have dresses that are made out of some of that fabric from when I was a kid. But we wash them, we launder them here. All of my to-go products are biodegradable or compostable. I don't have anything that's styrofoam. So not too long ago, we ran out of, I don't remember, one of our little sandwich clamshells or something that is like a paper mache deal. And one of the kids was like, well, we could go to Walmart and get, XYZ or whatever. And some of the kids that have been here longer than that one just looked at him like he had said a cardinal sin. They were like, oh, my goodness, we cannot do that.
That's how we do it here, yeah.
No, it's not. We separate our trash to the extent that we separate our food out of our trash. And for a long time, I had a guy that would come by and pick up the food scrap and feed it to hogs. But right now, I'm trying to get into a relationship with the university, with the biology and the agricultural department. They have a new project going on, and they were going to bring in a huge composter. We compost a little bit here at Mule Kick, but we just can't keep up with the volume. Right. But they can. They had a digester is what it was called. And so if we could separate our browns, like our paper towels, even in the bathroom, we have separate trash. So we could separate those browns and those compostables and send them over there. We could keep a lot of the stuff that we have from going to the landfill.
That's fabulous. That really, really is. And so far we've kind of painted a verbal picture of Mule Kick. And now let's talk about what it means, sort of what it looks like. But now let's talk about what your customers can enjoy from a food and drink perspective. Let's start with coffee, as many good days start with. It looks like, Starbucks or any other place like that has nothing on you in terms of variety or flavors. And, as you know personally, making good coffee is an investment in time to learn the process and money to get the equipment. But it looks like you're certainly committed to making good coffee.
Absolutely. Like I said, coffee was our first love. It was what we were going to start out to be. And my philosophy in everything, we don't have to do everything, but the path that we go down, we're going to do that path right. And we're going to do it 100% right and learn how to do it. Coffee is about 90% science and 10% art. So right. We went around the state and talked to probably 10 different coffee roasters and finally found one in Mena called Ouachita Coffee, whose owner, Derek Campbell, is very serious about coffee.
Cool.
And he agreed to take us on. We actually had to have some initial conversations so that he knew if he put his coffee in here, we were going to go by the standards that he set because he didn't want his coffee in a subpar coffee shop. And I'm like, nope, we're going to do what you tell us to do. So that means that every time.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, Mena's not, I'm not looking in the map. It's not terribly far from Magnolia, is it, or is it?
It's 3 hours. You can drive fast, slow, get a speeding ticket, whatever you want to. It's 3 hours.
It's 3 hours? Wow. Okay. Shows my knowledge of Arkansas geography. Okay. Wow. And it's cool to me to know there's a guy that takes coffee seriously in Mena, Arkansas. I mean,
yes.
So.
Serious enough that he kind of checked out of life here in Arkansas and went to Washington State and got a job at a coffee shop, worked his way up to coffee trainer, and trained their 25 or 30 employees on coffee for several years before he was like, okay, I've learned what I wanted to know. I'm going home to Mena and starting my own coffee shop. And he roasts coffee for us.
That is totally cool. And I also see that you serve Arkansas craft beers. You serve Loblolly ice cream, which is made about, I think Little Rock's about 2.5 hours away. And
yes.
I'm telling you, Loblolly is some of the best ice cream on earth. I've had to quit buying it because I can't stay out of it. I mean, it's so good. But I would imagine that just as your commitment to being green, I would bet your commitment to local and regional has gone over pretty well with your customers.
So they're really hand in hand. Our commitment to being green partially led to our commitment to being local. Because if you are local, you use less gas and less emissions and, reduce your fossil fuel usage because you're not shipping whatever you're purchasing halfway across the world. If I can get it in Little Rock. So, the folks at Loblolly have been phenomenal. We get a shipment from them. Actually, they bring it down here in a Loblolly truck. Yeah, it's a cute little truck, too.
That's cool.
About once every 3 weeks. And the people here in Magnolia have just loved it. Loblolly was not a household word prior to us opening in 2019. But, I mean, now we have people that are like on the edge of their seat when we do a flavor reveal. They're like, what is that? What is that? They're serious. Cool.
Yeah, and I saw y'all, and so you also, your beer selection is pretty much Arkansas craft beers. I mean, I'm sure you have to have other ones that people want because not everybody loves craft beer, but do you have a pretty good selection of Arkansas beers on tap?
Okay, so I was giggling when you were saying that because we actually don't have anything other than craft beer.
Oh, okay. Well, good for you.
So part of one of our philosophies, we really wanted to just do education of all things, and we want our customers to have an experience. That's part of the whole process. And so you getting a beer that the household name that you can call just, I want to blah. There's no experience in that. You know exactly. You can say that. I'm not going to. But there's there's no wow to that. It's just, it is what it is. So I have 30 beer on tap. So I'm pretty sure south of Little Rock, I have more beer on tap than anybody else in Arkansas.
Good for you.
Or at least we did at the time that we built. And probably 27 of those are Arkansas. And we've got 3 more regional. And then one of the 27 is an Arkansas craft-made root beer.
Oh,
but
so it's
we've had in our 2 years, I really honestly think I've only had 2 people that wouldn't stay for the atmosphere and everything else because I didn't have that one traditional mass-produced beer on hand. Yep. Everybody else is like, oh, wow, this is different. This is cool. We offer them in flight, so you can get 5 and try 5 different ones. But we also have one that you can get 12 different ones. It's called a Baron because a Baron is a group of mules. And since you're having it here at Mule Kick.
That makes perfect sense. I did not know that a Baron was what you call a bunch of mules hanging out. That's really cool. Well, we won't get into this, but I mean, I'm always dismayed and shocked that the most popular hamburger in the world is McDonald's because it's not the best burger, and Bud Light's not the best beer. And I said it, you didn't have to say it. Okay, I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of Heaping Spoonful with our guest, Christy Ouei, owner of Mule Kick in Magnolia, Arkansas. Hang on, and we'll be right back.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
All right, welcome back to Heaping Spoonful. Today we're visiting with Christy Ouei of Mule Kick in Magnolia, Arkansas. So, Christy, your food menu is broad. As you said, you started off, we're going to be a coffee shop, and you realized you could do a lot more than that. So I was, as always, salivating as I looked at your menu. I love you have everything from breakfast treats to pizza to wings, sandwiches, hummus, other dips, salads, calzones. And I think, based on the picture and the concept, that the barbecue pork cheeser is going to have to be my first order, which basically looks like a barbecue grilled cheese. So, oh, man, what could be wrong with that? So to talk about, again, I guess it was a progression. You saw the basics and then you kept growing it. Was pizza always going to be part of it? Because that's a different process than just, making a sandwich. So talk about how you built your menu.
Okay, well, pizza was not always going to be a part of it. But then from a previous business I had these pizza ovens, and I knew the basics of putting toppings on pizza, not the extent to which we know it now, of course. But we're like, hey, coffee shop, some people like little snacky type things. We'll put this in there. Well, my crew, my boyfriend, everybody in South Arkansas will probably tell you, if I do something, I just investigate it and try to find all the ins and outs. So for 6 months, we drove all around the area trying different crusts. And when I got up to about a size 8, I'm like, okay, people, we're done. We're not trying any more of these crusts. So at that point, we brought some of the Benny Keith vendors in and just decided on a dough ball rather than crust. But then actual menu development came much more with our employees. So we had a group of 13 that we started with, and we did not have a menu set in stone a month before starting. But we brought these 13 college kids. Every one of them was a college kid, and they were all undergrads. So we brought them in. We did onboarding for 2 weeks, and about the 4th day, I told them, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of talking and y'all listening. I gave them a lump sum of money and said, we have 18 days to open a shop. Y'all get to it. And so they had already divided, and they were on teams, and I had my kitchen team in there. And we started putting stuff on pizzas and cooking things. And Kelly had been great because we had a whole lot of supplies to try to work around and see what we were going to do. And they brainstormed, and that's where my first pizza menu came from.
Oh, cool. I love it. And I mean, your website, again, I don't know if you had a smart student from SAU developed that for you, but it's very well done and it's funny. I don't know if you wrote the copy or who, but I mean, whatever you're calling your Hawaiian pizza, I think it said hula girls sold separately. I mean, that cracked me up. That's great. Everything that I've seen in what you do is really impressive. Your breakfast. What have been? I watched a cool video that you have posted on your LinkedIn of your relationship with your bank there, and very well done. And you said in that video that pizza's your big seller. Is that remain your number one item, generally speaking?
No, actually.
Okay.
We did a menu analysis the other day, and wings are our number one seller. Chicken wings.
Oh.
Yep.
Well, who doesn't love
12 different flavors of glazes. And so we have 2 different sizes. But one of the cool things that we do is we offer a flight of wings. So just like you can get that flight of beer I was talking about, the exact same glasses and everything come out when you order a flight of wings. It's just, it comes out with 5 different sauces, or maybe it's some sauces and some dry rubs. And there's a little drumette sticking out of each of those cups that you can try, and then you get another plate of flat with them. But when COVID came around and we didn't have anybody in the building, we had a whole new clientele show up at the window because that's what we could keep open. And,
Sure.
When you're stuck of just going to certain places for drive-through, everybody's like, oh, who have I not driven through this week? So we got a whole new clientele, and wings is what they were drawn to.
Wow. So you do have a drive-through or a window you can open up and hand things through.
Yes, drive-through.
Oh, that's yeah. Well, I bet you were very glad you had that when COVID struck for sure.
Oh, wait.
Your breakfast, again, also for you come for a morning cup of coffee, and as you said, you originally thought, hey, well, maybe we'll have some treats for the coffee drinkers, and your pastries look good, and they're available all day. And then I saw a picture of a breakfast pizza, and I know you do. I guess you do breakfast burritos. And breakfast, I guess, goes till about 10:30. Has that been a pretty good component of your revenue, the breakfast business?
It has. Breakfast, people are all about convenience, or largely about convenience, and being able to call that in and come through and pick it up. I did a study, very unofficial, on my own the other day, and drove through a drive-through from a larger chain location here in town, and it took the last car in line about 30 minutes to get through to where they actually got their food. And then I came over here and I timed several of hours, and we were at about 9 minutes. And I'm like, hey, I was standing on my head because I thought they were waiting too long at the window. But, we got that other place beat by about 21 minutes. So I'm tickled. Yeah. But yes, they can call ahead. They can place their order online. And the breakfast pizza has probably been the biggest breakfast hit. We are in even south of Little Rock, being south. So we want something filling and savory for breakfast. And the breakfast pizza.
Tell me about the breakfast pizza. How does it built? What is it?
So it comes on our hand-tossed crust. It has a layer of sausage gravy, and then it has a layer of aged sharp cheddar. And then you can either have a fresh cracked egg or a scrambled egg, sausage, and or bacon on it.
Oh, and you had me at gravy, but oh man, that sounds good. And I will tell you right now, we've been doing more than a year of Heaping Spoonful, but most of the time it's been during the pandemic. And I'm adding you to my list of places I've got to go when things let up a little bit, and they're getting better. I mean, let's hope that they're getting better for sure. So I will have to say that from everything that Mule Kick fans can see, everything that Heaping Spoonful listeners have heard so far, conceptualizing, opening, and running a restaurant, for all they know, that's been your life's calling. That's been what you were put here to do. But that's really not true at all. It is now, but you had a 16-year stop before Mule Kick. You owned a business. Tell us about that business. How did you get into that business, and why did you get out of that business?
Well, yes, I had a 16-year layover in Taylor, about 15 miles south of here, and graduated from college out here at SAU. Shortly after that, went and managed the John Deere store here in town, and then the opportunity came up to own this convenience store in Taylor. And I thought, it's like 2.5 blocks from the school. My little boy could be there. And if something happens, I'm just right here. So we bought that. It was a mom and pop service station, like 1950s looking initially. A couple of years later, we converted it to a convenience store. And then several years after that is when I started my relationship with Kelly Sawyer, my Benny Keith rep. Is when I closed in everything. Well, I guess she actually started working for me before I had a real live restaurant. I just had a cook trailer that was permanently located out to the side of it. And
to the side of the side of
the service station. Yep, it was right at the end of the full service lane. But we would open at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had a 9-foot hot box that at 5 o'clock in the morning, we had everything in there that we could have. But we hand patted our hamburgers. We boiled potatoes every day. We boiled potatoes every day and chicken every day. Everything we did was handmade. Thought that I would retire in Taylor. This is where I'd been for a while. Bought a house out on the lake. And about 6 days before Christmas in 2017, the state police knocked on my door. And I got up and they were like, Christy, you have to come with us. The station's burned. At 4 o'clock in the morning, you're like, what? But, yep, they let me get my tennis shoes on, and we got down there, and I got there in time to see one of the last walls falling. So, that was a bit of a punt.
Yeah. Is it an electrical issue, or what caused the fire?
We had, after all the investigations, they just put it up to unknown causes.
Wow.
So I had to sit there for a minute and kind of ponder on, what does life look like now? Because it did give me an opportunity to go a different route. And after a lot of thinking and praying and all kinds of stuff, I was like, I like restaurants. I like the business of business. I like the spreadsheets. I like the people side of it. I like the customer experience side of it. I like the connection and the networking. So we found this piece of property, and here we are today.
That's great. And so people hear convenience store, they don't think, everybody knows that you can use, there's a heat lamp and you can get some chicken strips or, whatever, of Hunt's Brothers Pizza or whatever, but you were running a real restaurant and cooking food from scratch in a convenience store hooked onto a gas station in Taylor, Arkansas. And so
we were. Yeah, I was one of Kelly's bigger accounts at a service station.
I can see that. Well, Rusty Mathis, the man who runs Benny Keith's Mid-South Division and is a friend of mine, met his wife when he was a Benny Keith rep, and she was running a convenience store, and
there you
sold
go.
A lot of food through there. People eat through there. Well, that's really cool. So I know that you went to high school. Again, LinkedIn tells all. You went to high school, at least in stamps. Did you grow up in stamps?
From 7th grade on. Early years we were in Southeast Arkansas, Lake Village. Mm-hmm. But then high school, moved to Stamps, graduated from Stamps, and after touring 4 or 5 different colleges, went to SAU.
So you got your bachelor's degree in agricultural business and management. When you were pursuing that degree and when you got that degree, did you know what you were going to end up doing with it, or did you just do it because you liked it and figured you'd figure it out?
Well, I really thought farm lending is what I would do. That's what I went into it thinking. We are a heavily agricultural based area, and that was my interest. We had a farm for years, and I could talk that lingo. When I was at the John Deere place, I learned all about the repairing of the balers and the tractors and everything. And, I could kind of cut through some of that red tape for those farmers maybe that were having a harder time relating to a banker in a suit and tie. And I thought maybe somebody in blue jeans and boots could be more approachable. It's what I thought I would do with it. I had one internship at Farm Credit down here, and The only person that got to leave the office was the lender, and I filed papers all day, and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm not doing that."
No, you figured out a way to use your people person skills and your business skills to do that. So, not to embarrass you, but you were valedictorian of your high school class, which is a big deal. But you were valedictorian of your college class, which is a really big deal. So, again, you're maybe blushing, but it's obvious you've always been committed. You've been committed to excellence in what you've done, and I've learned enough in my long life that you find somebody who's good at one thing, they're probably gonna be good at something else. So it's not surprising you're good at owning and running a restaurant. But I guess obviously you've been driven to be successful your whole life.
Well, my personality takes that on. And that's one of the reasons that we have some different phrases here at Mule Kick. One of the phrases that is not allowed is customer service. We do not provide customer service. Customer service means you are giving about a C. You get a solid C for that. Here, you got your food in a timely manner. That's not providing an experience. An experience is something that people are willing to put their credibility on the line on social media. And if you don't take your social media credibility lightly, that's your reputation on Facebook. And nobody's ever gone on Facebook and gone, they brought my meal to me in a good amount of time. They don't recommend businesses for that. So we go about the fact that you have to have an experience, and you have to be sure enough in your experience with us to think that we're going to replicate it time and time and time again, so that when you recommend your friends to come eat at Mule Kick, they're going to get the same experience that you got. That's that comes from that valedictorian in college and just being determined that this is what's going to happen.
Well, that's fabulous. And, I'll say that, we've communicated a little bit via email. This is the first time we've talked, but just a couple hours ago, you shared with me a document that I really consider amazing. It's entitled Christy's Dream, Bert's Vision, Mule Kick's Mission and Goals. And I'm going to tell you, it's not simply amazing to me because of what it says. It's amazing to me that it even exists at all. I'm telling you, so few people create what you created. And you told me you and Bert created this before you ever broke ground on your building. And you knew what you wanted to do, and you knew what you were committed to. And so you put this document together, and tell our listeners about what got Bert and you started. I mean, was it like, okay, we know we want to do this restaurant, so let's figure out what we want to commit to before we ever start building the restaurant? Because it took some, y'all had to sit down and hammer this thing out. So talk about the process and the timeline of how you created that document.
Well, obviously, like we've talked about, I've been committed to education my entire life, came from my parents, highly committed to that. So when we decided, what we wanted to do, my thing is, okay, I need information. I need to research this. I need to read everything I can read about this. And the newest ways that are thinking, what are they doing in California? What are they doing in New York? Because regardless of what you think about them any other way, those are the trendsetters in food and beverage. And it flows in from both sides of the United States. Well, there was this book called The E-Myth and The E-Myth Mastery and a subsequent series by this guy called Michael Gerber. And he is an elderly little gentleman, but so full of life and makes so much sense that the E-Myth was this book that wasn't just a read it, because I really don't like just read it books. It was more of a do this book. And to the point that I would read a chapter and it would say, you need a company organization, like an organizational chart. So, I didn't have anybody. I had me and Bert. But it said to create a flow chart for the organization like you want to see yourself in 10 years. So I did that. I had 35 different holes on my organizational chart. Then the man says, put the names of the people you have currently in those spots. So it was like me, Bert, me. But I spent some time and I thought about it, and we developed what each one of those functions was going to do. So we had, the board of directors, which was me and Bert, and the president, which was me, and then the human resources, which was Bert, and the finances, which was me, so that we could divide up responsibilities between ourselves and know that everything that needed to be handled in business was going to be handled without thinking, him thinking I was going to do it, and I was thinking he was going to do it. We spent a lot of time going, which one of us would be better at this? So, it took a little while, but we didn't have a business at the time. He was making lights, and I was planning.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm gonna take the liberty of reading some of this, and it's a very abbreviated version at the top. But again, just to give people a sense of this document, it starts off. It says Christy's dream. In the first sentence is the idealistic entrepreneur. Christy wants to quote unquote fix the world. And then it said Bert's vision. He's the thinker. Bert sees the way clear. He makes things happen. So you're the dreamer, and he's the guy, as you said, who takes those dreams and turns them into reality. Is that the way it kind of plays out?
He does. And I'm excited for you to come down, because now that you've kind of read some of that, and then you get here and you go, oh, they didn't have this built. They built this.
Yes. Yeah. That's
so yeah.
Great.
It's very much we communicate to each other, and then it happens.
Well, what I love too is that, again, that's all. I mean, again, you got to set your mission, what you believe in, your vision, your kind of mission statement, and that's all big picture, high level stuff. But then you got right down to brass tacks, and I'm just going to take again the liberty of reading some of this. Mule Kick's mission and goals. The mission is to be the model for businesses in our region, demonstrating that a business can be responsible while not sacrificing profitability. Mule Kick strives to be an example to other businesses and individuals by making a higher sense of purpose and attainable goal, not a dream or vision. But then you get really down to the brass tacks goals to provide a relaxing, engaging, and educational atmosphere for patrons to source at least 45% of products from Arkansas, an additional 35% from Mississippi, Texas, Missouri, and Louisiana. To produce less waste than a residential garbage can per week. Think about that, people. One garbage can or less per week. To embrace a 30% turnover rate through education and communication, and a benefit package to include Christmas bonus and profit sharing. To be recognized by the Arkansas Small Business Administration as an innovator in our industry. To meet with the college administration and local government at least once a year to strengthen the working relationship. To host an entrepreneurial intern by the spring of 2020. To reach a 30% cost of goods sold and 55% operating expense by the end of the first 12 months. So, I mean, you said here we're going to do it. So did I know we've had COVID. Did much of that or most of that come true?
Much of it has. The residential trash can, before COVID, and when we still had a lot of different avenues to process our waste, we were at 2 residential trash cans. Now we've had a couple of those ways taken away from us, and we're forced to throw away some more stuff. But I still don't have a dumpster. So think about that. I'm a restaurant.
And you don't have a dumpster.
Yeah, 2 big trucks from Kelly a week, and I don't have a dumpster. Not only that, we built this place from the ground up, and I'm sure I was a pain to my contractor that did do the building part, but we never had a dumpster on site. I said, that is not aligned with our mission, and I am not going to see a dumpster on our lot. And I didn't.
Cool. Well, that's great. Well, we're recording this episode of Heaping Spoonful in late February of 2021. So we're more than 11 months since the COVID pandemic pretty much knocked the hospitality industry to its knees. So it sounds like what you said, you just started doing your business out your window. And then I guess at a point in time you were able to reopen, and you know people mask up and keep their distance. And how's it been for you?
Well, I guess I could jump on the bandwagon and go, oh, it's just been terrible and da-da-da-da-da. But you know what? It hasn't. Was it different? Absolutely. But you do what a business does when it survives. You pivot and turn and you react. So did I have, let's prepare for a pandemic? That was one of the few things I didn't have in that 200-page document that I sent you a page of, was how to prepare for a pandemic. But, that chapter has now been written. We just started working with our local Arkansas Small Business Development Technology Center. The head of that department is a wonderful human. Their services come at a great price tag. They are free, but they are available to all the businesses in the state of Arkansas, and we took advantage of what they were willing to offer. And that was pointing us in the right directions. So if there was some, how to deal with the PPP, how to deal with the EIDL, how to apply for the Arkansas Ready for Business grant, to do that. But in addition to that, we reached out to our community, and Magnolia and the local community here was amazing. We would have people drive from El Dorado at least once a week to come through our drive-through window because they wanted to make sure that we were open for live music when we could go back to doing that. So we really had a loyal support team that we knew on Friday. We knew who was coming through the window. We knew who we were going to see on Thursday. But we also reached out and interacted with them like ways. We always have a trivia on Wednesday night. We still had the trivia. We never missed a Wednesday night during COVID. We just went online and we did it on Facebook. I got sponsors from the businesses here in town to give stuff away randomly as we drew. There were some Wednesday nights that we had 2,500 comments on our trivia night from Wednesday from 7 to 9. So,
wow.
I knew that we had to stay engaged and we had to stay front of mind for these people. And this was a way for them to connect with other people that they hadn't gotten to see. You couldn't go to church. You couldn't go to Walmart.
Sure.
You couldn't even go to the grocery store. So to see other people and to be able to, even if it was in typing those answers, you could still connect with people in your neighborhood.
Well, I am not surprised to hear that's the attitude you took and the results you generated, because I would expect nothing less at this point. But so I want to thank you, Christy, and continued good luck with Mule Kick. Thanks to all of you out there listening to this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We post them the first and third Tuesdays of each month, so check out the ones you've missed and keep an eye out for new ones. So goodbye, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.